You know that feeling when you're tangled up in a corporate training system that feels more like a roadblock than a runway for growth? Yeah, if you've been there, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're going to deconstruct all those common frustrations and explore a totally different way of thinking, one that's all about turning that training mess into a real, actual engine for business results. So, let's get right into it.
First up, we'll unpack the big corporate training challenge. Then, we'll dive into a new philosophy called Your Way. After that, we'll check out the flexible toolkit that makes it all happen, see its crazy powerful automation in action. And finally, we'll connect all the dots to the ROI engine that, let's be honest, every business is chasing.
All right, so let's start with the million-dollar question. Why is it so hard to get corporate training right? So many companies pour a ton of money into their learning platforms, but the results? They just don't seem to measure up. And that really leads us to the question that keeps learning and development leaders up at night. I mean, the LMS industry is projected to grow like crazy, but still, only a tiny fraction of companies can actually link their investment in learning to real, tangible business outcomes. What is going on there?
Well, when you dig into the research, a few usual suspects pop up. A lot of the time, training is just totally disconnected from what the business actually cares about. Like growing revenue or cutting down on risk. The platforms themselves, they can be so complicated that nobody even uses their best features. And the learners, they're just turned off by clunky, awful interfaces. And here's the kicker. The LMS is often stuck in its own little world, totally cut off from other business systems. That means you get almost no useful data to make smart decisions. It's just a frustrating cycle.
But what if you could just break that cycle? I love this quote because it perfectly sums up the mind shift we're about to talk about. Going from a bunch of tangled, annoying tools to one single, powerful platform that gives you total control. No more excuses.
And that brings us to this new philosophy. It's really positioned as the antidote to what the source material here calls the big LMS. You know the type, those massive, rigid, one-size-fits-all systems that are usually the cause of all the problems we just laid out.
And the contrast here is just night and day. On one side, you've got the old-school big LMS, right? Punishing you for every single user, super centralized and heavy-handed, and totally inflexible. But on the other side, you have this training area idea. Think unlimited users and courses for a department, which lets you decentralize and tailor everything to what people actually need. It's all built on this Your Way philosophy, and it's super configurable right from the get-go. The key takeaway here is the shift from a model that restricts you to one that empowers you.
Now, this idea didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It's been decades in the making. The company behind this, Max IT, actually started way back in '95 just distributing training products. They evolved, they launched a tracking tool, and that eventually grew into the platform we're looking at today. This history shows they've really been in the trenches and understand the pain points of the training world.
So, how does this Your Way thing actually work in the real world? Well, it's not just one single product. It's more like a flexible toolkit designed so you can grab the right tool for the right job. It adapts to you, not the other way around.
The toolkit kicks off with the flagship, Ability LMS. This is the whole shebang, the comprehensive system for managing literally any kind of training for any audience you can think of, from e-learning to on-the-job stuff.
But hey, the whole point is flexibility, right? So if you don't need a full-blown LMS, you can use Ability Tracker. It strips everything down to just the essentials. Precise, reliable tracking and reporting, but without all that extra overhead. And it goes beyond just formal training. The toolkit also has an AI coach, which is pretty cool. It gives you instant knowledge support by training on your specific company documents and policies.
And then, to round out the whole ecosystem, you've got the Ability Training Library, which is basically a curated collection of really good, expertly vetted video content. So altogether, these tools create this modular system that you can tailor to your exact needs.
Okay, but having the right tools is only half the battle. The real magic, the real power, comes from how they all work together through automation. So let's look at the engineering that makes this stuff possible, because it's pretty mind-blowing.
The engine behind all this automation is something called learner flexi groups.
Now, this isn't your grandma's static user group. Think of it as a smart, dynamic filter. It's based on any piece of data in a user's profile, their job title, their department, when they were hired, you name it. And once you set up a Flex group, you can use it to automate pretty much anything.
And those flexi groups are what give learning tracks their superpower. A learning track is just what it sounds like. A collection of courses somebody needs to finish, maybe for a new job, a certification, or their onboarding process. Okay, so here's where the rubber meets the road. This is just such a powerful example of automation. So picture this. An employee gets a promotion. Their job title changes in the HR system, right? That one little data change kicks off this incredible chain reaction in Ability LMS. First, it automatically unassigns the old learning track from their last role. Then it auto-assigns the new track for their new job, and then it checks their history to see if they've already taken any of the required courses and gives them credit. And finally, it sends out alerts for what's new. I mean, that is a ton of tedious manual work just gone, completely automated.
So, we've got this flexible toolkit and this wicked smart automation. But how? How does any of this actually help the bottom line? This is where we see the whole system transform into a true ROI engine.
It all starts with the pricing. This is such a stark contrast to those confusing, punitive pricing models from the big LMS vendors. Here, it's totally transparent and tiered. You can start small with just the tracker for $400 a month and then scale up as you need to. This approach is a direct answer to cost concerns and gives you predictable budgeting, which is huge.
And don't think for a second this is some small-time solution. We're talking about a platform that has handled over 23 million course launches for nearly 1 million active users, all while maintaining a system uptime of 99.98%. So yeah, it's flexible, but it is also incredibly robust and ready to scale.
And this brings us right back to where we started. Remember all those challenges with proving ROI? Well, these are the strategic solutions. You get a business-driven architecture by tying learning tracks directly to job roles. You get an integrated ecosystem through the HR and API integrations. Personalization at scale, that's the dynamic flexi groups we talked about. And intelligent analytics, that's the drag-and-drop report builder. The platform literally gives you the tools to execute on these exact strategies.
And look, the proof is in the pudding. This is a real testimonial from a VP of HR who directly connects using the system and its automated onboarding to a stunning decrease in turnover. That's not just a nice-to-have, that is a direct, measurable impact on the business.
So all of this really boils down to one final, crucial question you should be asking about your own learning systems. Is it just a glorified spreadsheet for tracking who finished what, a cost center that you're constantly having to justify, or is it a dynamic, automated strategic tool that's actively driving growth, efficiency, and a real return on investment for your company? That's a vital question for anyone in this field. Thanks so much for joining this explainer.